In this video, we're going to talk about the distinction between what you should automate and whether you should hire an admin, especially for HVAC companies. There are many considerations that you'd have, and one of them should be what in my business can I use automation for, software for, and what should I hire an admin for? My name is Uwa. I build AI solutions and automation solutions for businesses. And today I'm going to be showing you some of the considerations you must look at before you decide to add to your overhead or just go ahead with some automation or call someone like me to do an AI assessment on your business and help your business scale and grow because that's what it's really all about. So your HVAC company shouldn't really be looking at admin right now. If your business is operating okay, but you want to scale, there are five key areas you should consider automation for before you look at bringing in the additional overhead of an admin. So the first is incoming calls. What do you have in place to handle your incoming calls? Do you have a CSR? And who is that CSR? Is that your partner? Do you have some system in place for out of hours calls? Do you have a system in place when your CSR is busy and the lines all engaged? And in terms of bookings, how do you book your new jobs? And how do you track each job? How do you track your job from when it comes in to when the the invoice is signed and the client is happy? What about dispatch? How do you allocate people to jobs? The technician, what information do they have? If they want to provide updates back to the head office, what do they do? Do you have a system in place where they can just speak into a tool or speak into their phone and it goes straight into the CRM, into the customer's information? And then the final one is invoicing. How do you handle the invoicing? How do you chase invoices? So what do you do? Um, So every service call that comes into your office has two aspects to it. There's a bit where is okay, what is the job at the property? Where's the technician going? What do they have to do? This is the physical aspect to your job. And then there's a job behind the scenes. So your technician can complete just one of these jobs, whereas your office would do the other side. So what are the jobs behind the scenes that I'm referring to? Like answering the call, qualifying the lead. Is the lead an urgent case or can it be delayed to later? Are they likely to require a fresh installation? Do you need to go out there urgently? Which technician is qualified to attend? And those kind of questions are things that your CSR or the person receiving the call can handle. But AI can also handle that, and you can have automation to handle the rest of it, which is like dispatching the technician, the scheduling of the job, documenting what needs doing, and invoicing, and specifically follow up. Whereas what's happening at the property is stuff like diagnosing the problem, repairs, installs, and maintenance. Now, whilst the person's doing their maintenance or doing the repair, what do they have to log? So do they have to now, after doing the work, spend another 2 hours recording everything that happened? Or can they just have a device where they speak into their phone and the phone just registers everything and it saves everybody time? There are solutions where people go out, HVAC engineers go out, do a job, and on their way to the next job, they speak into the phone and then the phone records everything that took place. So if your customer calls or your customer system fails at roughly, let's say 6:30 p.m., they call, no one answers because you've closed maybe at 4 or 5 o'clock or 5:30. What happens? They leave a voicemail and then your team responds the following day. Now, and that's if someone within your team listens to the phone or listens to the voicemail. What if the following day they turn up and then there's some emergency somewhere and they don't have time to respond first thing in the morning? So then the customer is potentially left till later in the day. Or, as most customers would do, they'll go off to someone else, they'll go and find another client. So this is where you need to put some system in place to make sure that every lead is captured when they call. And if it's an emergency and you don't work out of hours, you can provide the customer experience where you send them information that can help them either find someone else or send them to some resources that they can look at in order to determine if they actually have an emergency or get the help they need. So in June 2025, 14.1% of inbound residential HVAC calls in Service Titans analysis arrived outside of normal business hours. So 14% of jobs, that's out of every 100, 14 calls come out of hours. And if they're coming into your business, or if any percentage of that is coming into your business, then you want to be measuring or trying to find out what that cost is like. And if you do answer a call, or you have a system that answers a call, what exactly happens during the call? So your CSR or the person handling it would typically ask for the address, ask what systems affected, the symptoms, the urgency. If there's any customer history, they'll pull up the customer's record, and then look at any services in the area or whatever needs doing, and then checks the availability. Now, what comes out of it is a properly qualified job, not just another voicemail. Now, with this, you can also have some automation in place that picks up the call and asks all those questions. And ideally, you want to have a voice agent that handles this call, as well as your website doing the exact same thing, so that the experience for your client is the same, whether they go to your website or they call you. All of this information is gathered, and this is what you need in order to qualify the job. And your dispatch is not calendar management. So the system that you put in place, or you have in place, should obviously look at the urgency before sending someone out. Find the right technician that can do the job based on their qualifications. Where is the job, or where is the problem taking place? How long is the job likely to take, and what parts they might need to do that job? And if you have a membership system, what priority does this person that's called get or receive? And then if it's a return visit, or if there are any existing delays, what sort of information or feedback can you give to them? Yes, a human can do this. Equally, you can have a system that can automate this and handle many more calls the same way, consistently following the same rules every single time. So your nearest technician is not always the best technician. So you need a system that can do that calculation upfront and then pick the right person to send out. And don't make your office decode like any technical notes. So things have to be clear, things have to be clearly documented, and things have to be obvious to anyone that goes into your CRM to review a client's information or client summary from previous jobs. And this kind of summarization is something that AI can do quite quickly. So a technician's voice note becomes, I mentioned about the technician driving in between jobs and giving it their update. So something like that is instant. As soon as they finish speaking and they press send, it just goes straight into the CRM, and someone else can pick that up. So if the client phones the office, they have the latest on the job. So what kind of information would they be logging? It would be things like the completed work, the parts used, equipment information, any summaries, any experience they had there, if the customer is happy, irate, whatever happens, and then the follow-up task, and finally when the next follow-up should take place. And if you're sending out estimates, the estimate goes out. Often chase up the follow-up. That's where a lot of things fall through the cracks. So it's mainly because there's just no time to do everything. So you send out estimates, perhaps you chase once, maybe twice, and then that's it. What if by the time you've completed your chasing, the client is not ready? So what you want to have in place is a system that carries on chasing, until you get a response, or until you exhaust the requisite 12 follow-ups or 12 touch points. So you chase them via phone, you chase them via email, you chase them via text, you chase them via WhatsApp. And done tastefully is not actually bad, because the client has a challenge or has an issue and wants that problem solving, and you want to help them solve that problem. So that's why you put the automation in place to continue chasing. So the bottom line is the follow-up is according to the behavior, not just elapsed time. So some people, I've seen reports of where people received an estimate and it took them a year to actually do the job. So if you only chased 2 or 3 times, then you'd probably be missing out on a job that would have taken place 12 months later. So those are things to consider. And if you carry on chasing, at some point you stop chasing for the invoice itself, but you move the client into a nurture stage where you then send useful information, just keep them updated on the work you're doing and how successful your business is in their area and how you can help them. So maintenance plan is the other thing that you can automate. Admins can do this as well. Consistency. If you have an AI solution, then the AI solution is not likely to take any leave. It's likely to follow the same pattern for everything, and is likely to be bespoke depending on what needs doing. So the things that you can automate would be stuff like the renewal notices, any failed payments, the seasonal booking, missed visits, equipment coverage. And typically, if you have someone that's on a subscription, you want them to use that subscription. Otherwise, they'll cancel if they don't see any benefit to it. So any membership benefits and replacement opportunities, those things can happen in an automated fashion because you have the system in the background just checking the database to see when next the client should be reached out to and what's the next thing for that client. And at each point, the next status of the client should be known and clear to everyone. And the most important bit is that in as much as AI is available and automation is in place and computers exist for all sorts of things, there are still aspects where human intervention and human contact wins. So if your customer is upset, if there's a safety concern, if there's a complex diagnosis, because bear in mind AI itself is still is generative, so it might go down the wrong path and make significant mistakes. And when there's safety involved, you want to make sure that there's a human in that loop, human in that decision making, and obviously, you don't want AI to do your price negotiation because they can be tricked into selling your service for $1. And then final dispatch decisions, like is AI actually picking the right person and are the rules correct? And one of the most important things you'd also want to do is make sure you have adequate testing in place to make sure that things operate correctly, especially when there are edge cases or nuances. So here's your HVAC automation test. Start with a handoff that loses the most money. So a workflow is a strong candidate for automation if it happens on most jobs. If there's anything that happens on most jobs, so a call comes in and maybe you check the CRM and you get the most recent job or most recent call from that client, you want to make sure that you have some automation in place for that. Then the next thing to look at is whether staff repeatedly copy the same information from one point to another. So dispatch, the engineer goes out, they're dispatched, they come back, they write notes, they put them somewhere. Who transcribes that information from what the person who did the job completed into your CRM? Do you have something like an iPad that they use? Then that's fine. When that information comes in, what happens next? How do you make sure that information is correct and is updated correctly in the customer's record? Are there any delays that affect your bookings or cash? Because you don't want to introduce friction between the client, the customer, and you actually getting the money. And then what are the correct actions that one has to follow? So are those actions actually clearly defined, and what are the rules that must be followed? And then if there are any exceptions, how do you escalate? Do you have those processes in place? If you don't, then you want to start documenting those workflows, and then with an assessment you can determine if you want to bring in automation and what is the return on the investment for putting in the automation. So you think about these questions. Where does your job flow break? The calls? Is it the technical notes? Is it dispatch, estimates, maintenance renewals, the invoicing, installs, removals, whatever? Just think about which one you'd think would benefit your business the most, and then do some research, do some inquiries, and make sure that you have the right information and you have the right model that would generate the additional revenue you want or save you a lot more time. So my name is Ua. I'm the founder of Autori. Our focus right now is helping HVAC businesses turn estimates into book jobs. So typically, you send out these estimates, you chase once, you chase twice. Someone should be chasing third time, fourth time, fifth time, sixth time, seventh time. And you need to make sure you know the status of every single estimate. If they don't want it, you just want to be clear that they don't want it rather than it just goes dead. Granted, some people ignore, but most people would say, okay, I've gone with someone else, or yes, we're happy to go ahead. Give me 2 weeks, give me 4 weeks. I need to speak to my partner. All those things. Make sure you're abreast of what's happening with the clients you've spoken to, because you've already done the job. You spent the time, you've gone out to the client, and you've generated this invoice and the estimate. And if it's the case of the price was too high, or they found someone else, or they can't afford it, it gives you the opportunity to offer something else like a payment plan or any sort of finance. So that is what we help HVAC companies do. We automate businesses, we bring business processes into the modern age using automation and AI. So if you feel that is something that we can do for you, do reach out. I'll be happy to give you a free assessment and show you what's possible to recover in terms of your missed or dead estimates. So until next time, keep winning.